All right. Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we are heading down under to Australia. We're going to be talking about the cattle industry
All right.
in Australia. And it's going to be a fascinating one. I've been looking over the research.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Like, it's not just about steaks and burgers.
It's not just about the beef.
Yeah.
It's the whole...
It's the whole shebang. Yeah. We're going to be looking at things like pest management, climate change, biosecurity, high-tech stuff. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
It is. It really is. And I think what really strikes me is that, like, Australia is almost like a microcosm of what's happening in agriculture globally.
Yeah.
You know, they're facing all the same challenges. Climate change, market volatility, consumer demands, all of that stuff.
Right.
And they're coming up with some really interesting solutions. So
Okay, well, let's dive into some of that then.
Let's do it.
One of the things I always kind of get tripped up on is this idea of integrated pest management.
Oh,
IPM. IPM, it sounds like a really fancy way of saying, we're going to kill bugs.
Yeah. Just get rid of the pests.
Yeah, but it's a little more nuanced than that, right?
It is. It's more sophisticated than just, spraying everything with chemicals.
Right.
It's really taking a long-term vision and saying, okay, how do we manage this in a way that's sustainable?
Right.
So they're doing things like monitoring the pest populations really carefully.
Okay.
Introducing natural predators, to kind of keep things in balance.
Yeah.
They rotate grazing patterns to disrupt the pest life cycles.
It's like a multi-pronged attack, but not just reliant on
not relying entirely on
spraying everything.
Chemicals, right?
Yeah.
And that's really important because one of the big issues globally is this growing resistance to pesticides.
Right. Yeah, the superbugs.
The superbugs, yeah. And Australia has actually had issues with parasites becoming resistant to some treatments.
Oh, wow.
So IPM is part of the solution to slow that down.
Makes sense.
And of course, it's better for the land in the long run.
Yeah.
But, pest management is just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Australia's climate is another huge challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big country, and they get hit pretty hard with droughts. And
and those are becoming...
They're becoming
more frequent.
More frequent and more severe.
Right.
So that has a massive impact on the cattle and, of course, on the farmers' livelihoods as well.
So, I mean, how do you deal with that? Like, you can't just make it rain?
You can't control the weather, unfortunately.
Right.
But what you can do is raise cattle that are better suited to those conditions.
Oh, okay.
So breeds like the Brahmin, for example, they're known for their heat tolerance.
Okay.
And their ability to graze on low quality forage when things get tough.
So they're just
they're tougher
animals.
Tougher animals, yeah. And they're not just relying on the breed itself.
Right.
They're also implementing a lot of water conservation techniques.
Okay.
Trying to be as efficient as possible with the water they have.
Yeah.
And they're using these climate monitoring systems.
Okay.
So they can get really specific data.
Okay.
And make more informed decisions.
So it's almost like having a weather forecast.
It's like a weather forecast.
Specifically for how to manage your cattle.
Exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. So they're adapting the cattle themselves. They're figuring out how to manage the resources better. What about keeping the cattle healthy in the first place?
Well, that's where biosecurity comes in.
Right.
Australia is this island continent.
Right.
So they're pretty isolated.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing when it comes to preventing diseases from spreading.
Yeah.
But that also means that they have to be extra careful to protect what they have.
Because if something gets in, it's going to spread like wildfire.
Exactly. It could be devastating.
Right.
So they have these incredibly strict biosecurity measures, vaccination programs. They control the movement of livestock very carefully.
Okay.
And they're constantly monitoring for any signs of disease.
So it's like a multi-layered defense system.
It is. It's about protecting their herds, of course.
Right.
But it's also about maintaining access to those export markets, which are really valuable.
Speaking of valuable, let's talk about the price of beef.
Oh, yeah.
It's been all over the place.
Volatile,
yeah.
Up and down like a yo-yo.
Yeah, that's got to be really tough on farmers.
It is. It adds a whole layer of complexity, to their business.
Because you don't know what to expect.
We don't know what to expect. You can't plan as easily.
Yeah.
So to deal with this, they're doing a couple of things.
Okay.
One is diversifying their export markets.
Okay, so not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Spread the risk.
Okay.
And the other thing is they're really focusing on making their operations as efficient as possible.
Okay, so it's like heading your beds.
Yeah.
Tightening your belt.
Tightening your belt, exactly.
All at the same time.
It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah.
But they're doing it.
So how are they? Like, what are they doing to actually be more efficient?
Well, one of the tools they're using is precision agriculture.
Okay.
Which is kind of a fancy term, but it basically means using technology like sensors and data analysis to optimize every aspect of the operation.
So it's like farming with big data.
It is. It's farming with big data.
Wow.
You know, they can track everything from feeding to fertilizer use and make sure that they're not wasting anything.
So it's good for their bottom line, but it's also good for...
It's good for the environment.
Sustainability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
So we're talking about sustainability. I can't help but think about the whole methane issue.
Yes, the elephant in the room. Cattle, you know, they're notorious for producing a lot of methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas.
Yeah.
Not great for the climate.
Not great.
But this is something that Australian researchers are really taking seriously.
Okay.
And there's been a really exciting development recently.
What is that?
They've discovered this natural feed additive.
Okay.
It's derived from a soil fungus.
A fungus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it has the potential to reduce methane emissions from cattle by up to 90%.
90%? That's huge.
It's enormous. It's a game changer.
How does that even work?
Well, it's still being studied.
Okay.
But it seems that this fungus, it's called curvularia.
Curvularia. Okay.
It somehow disrupts the digestive processes in the cow's gut that lead to methane production.
Interesting. So it's not like changing the cow's diet.
It's not changing the cow's diet.
It's changing how the cow
processes
the food.
The food.
Exactly. Wow. Okay.
And the best part is it's expected to be commercially available within a couple of years.
So this is like a real
thing.
That's like not just coming down the pipeline.
High in the sky. It's happening.
That's amazing.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, that could be, I mean, that could really change the game.
It could change the game for the whole livestock industry.
Globally.
Globally, not just Australia.
Right. That's amazing.
It's a great example of how, you know, scientific innovation can really help us create a more sustainable food system.
Yeah. So if reducing methane emissions by 90% isn't enough, what else are they doing?
Well, they're also investing heavily in infrastructure.
Okay.
Specifically roads.
Roads.
Yeah, there's this program called the Northern Australia Beef Roads Program.
Okay.
And they're pouring billions of dollars into upgrading and expanding the road network in the northern part of the country.
Okay. So it's not just about what the cows eat.
It's not just about what they eat.
It's about how they get around.
It's about how they get around.
Okay.
Because better roads mean more efficient transportation, which reduces stress on the animals.
Makes sense.
It lowers transportation costs and ultimately helps get that delicious Australian beef to consumers more quickly.
So happy cows.
Happy cows.
Happy consumers.
Happy consumers.
Okay. Speaking of consumers, Australia's beef exports have been doing pretty well.
They've been booming.
Yeah.
In 2024, beef exports surged by 24%.
Wow.
To reach a value of $14 billion.
That's a lot of beef.
It's a lot of beef.
So what's driving that?
Well, part of it is the recovery from the drought.
Okay.
You know, they're able to produce more beef now.
Right.
But it's also because there's this increasing global demand for high-quality Australian beef.
So they're kind of meeting a need.
Meeting a need.
In a global market.
Exactly. And they're doing it in a way that's increasingly focused on sustainability.
Right.
Which is really important.
So it seems like they're trying to set a new standard.
I think they are.
Yeah.
Meat and Livestock Australia, which is kind of the industry body.
Right.
They've set this really ambitious target.
Okay.
They want to achieve carbon neutrality for the entire meat and livestock industry.
The entire industry.
The entire industry.
Okay, by 2030.
2030.
Yeah.
That's
a big goal.
A very ambitious goal.
It's a very ambitious goal.
So how are they going to do that?
Well, it involves a lot of different things.
Okay.
Research into carbon storage systems, sustainable farming practices, and promoting environmental stewardship across the entire supply chain.
It's like a whole system approach.
It's a whole system approach.
Yeah.
It's not just about tweaking one thing. It's about changing the way they do business.
So carbon neutrality by 2030.
Ambitious.
It is.
But from what we've talked about today, it sounds like they're serious about making it happen.
Yeah, they're putting the money where their mouth is.
So what does this all mean for us? You know the average person. who enjoys a good steak or burger?
I think it's a really hopeful sign.
Okay.
Shows that a sustainable and ethical food system is possible.
Okay.
It requires innovation, collaboration, and a willingness to adapt.
Right.
The Australian cattle industry is a great example of what can be achieved when those things come together.
So it kind of leaves us with the question of, if Australia can do this, what's stopping other food producers around the world from doing the same thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. And
maybe a better question is, what can we as consumers do to support these kinds of initiatives?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap up this deep dive.
That's a wrap.
Thank you so much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure.
And we will see you next time
Until next time.
for another deep dive.
Bye.